the silence that shook the system. It was supposed to be just another quiet drive through a sleepy corridor of northern Louisiana. The kind of road where the trees leaned inward like they had secrets, and the locals nodded once without stopping to ask questions. Major General Danielle Roston had driven stretches like this more times than she could count. No fanfare, no flashing escort, just her, a rented Ford Fusion, and a high-security directive that couldn't wait. Her destination was Barksdale Air Force Base, and she was on a schedule that didn't allow for scenic detours or second chances. The weather had been sweltering all afternoon, the kind of heat that sticks to your skin and makes the air feel heavier than it should. But Danielle didn't mind it. She'd served under worse in the deserts of Kandahar and the mountain posts of Turkey. What she didn't expect was how the stillness of a gas station pit stop would explode into something far louder and far uglier than any battlefield briefing she'd ever led. About 20 miles outside the town of Mosswood, her encrypted government-issued phone lost reception. Not ideal, considering she was mid-conversation with a joint operations coordinator. She needed that signal back immediately, not in 10 miles, not when she reached the base. Now, she caught sight of an old gas station up ahead, Kelly's Fuel and Marquetta rundown outpost where time seemed to stand still. Paint peeled from the wooden siding like it had been left to dry in some forgotten decade, and a crooked neon sign buzzed half-heartedly above the rusted pumps. Danielle pulled into the back corner of the lot, away from the locals who were huddled near the front entrance, swigging bottled soda and laughing through sun-wrinkled faces. To her, it was just another temporary waypoint. She wasn't there to blend in or stand out. She just needed 5 minutes of clean signal. That's all. She stepped out in plain, clothes-running shoes, faded jeans, and a loose army green jacket that did nothing to indicate her rank or clearance. Her black ball cap was pulled low, covering her cropped hair. She looked like any other traveler, but she wasn't. She lifted the phone and spoke in a low, practiced voice. Major General Danielle Roston, verifying. Commencing secure transmission. The Pentagon voice on the other end wasted no time. Tactical movements. Recon updates. High-priority shifts in deployment. Details so sensitive that only a few people in the country had access. Danielle listened intently, eyes sweeping across the parking lot on instinct. Training kicked in automatically assess, decode, stay alert. She didn't see the danger. Not yet. But inside the store, Paula Redmond saw her. Paula, the station clerk, stood behind the faded counter, arms crossed, her lips puckered in permanent judgment. To Paula, Danielle wasn't a general. She wasn't even a civilian. She was a threat. Or at least, that's how Paula chose to see her. The woman outside didn't look like she belonged at least not to someone like Paula, whose understanding of the world hadn't evolved much beyond 1985. She watched Danielle talk on the phone with a focused intensity that Paula decided must mean drugs, theft, or worse. So she picked up the landline, pressed one button, and connected to the Mosswood Police Department. We got a suspicious individual loitering outside the station. Real shady. Acting erratic. Might be high. Better send someone. She hung up before dispatch could ask for clarification. 2 patrol officers, Joel Carter and Ryan Locke, were only a mile away when the call came through. Boredom had settled over their shift like thick fog. The kind of boredom that made certain men look for action they didn't deserve. They flicked on their lights, not out of urgency, but anticipation. Danielle was still on the call when they pulled in. She noticed the flashing lights in the reflection of the station's window and instinctively ended the briefing. She placed her secure device on the hood of her car, stepped back, and waited. The first officer out of the cruiser Carter was tall and broad, buzz-cut with the swagger of a man who hadn't been told no in a while. His partner, Locke, was younger, wiry, full of energy that lacked direction. Danielle kept her hands visible. "Good afternoon, officers," she said evenly. "Can I help you with something?" "License and registration." "Now," Carter barked, already approaching like she owed him something. Danielle nodded once and reached slowly for her back pocket. "Certainly. My credentials are here. I'm Major General Danielle Roston, U.S. Army." On active assignment. Locke snorted. General? Out here? In a rental car and sneakers. Danielle handed over her government-issued ID and military travel orders. Carter barely looked before tossing them onto the hood. Fake, he said, loud enough for a few onlookers to hear. With all due respect, sir, she began. Shut your mouth, Locke cut her off. You think this is some game? Around them, the parking lot had grown still. Conversation stopped. Phones came out. A few murmurs drifted through the heat. Danielle's every instinct told her this was no misunderstanding. This was a choice one made long before either officer saw her credentials. You're making a serious mistake, she said. I respectfully request that you contact your supervisor. We gave you a chance, Carter sneered. He pulled out a pair of handcuffs. Turn around. Now. Danielle didn't move. I'm a major general in the United States Army. Carter smirked. And I'm the Queen of England. Last warning. Locke grabbed her arm without waiting for a response. Carter shoved her wrist back and cinched the cuffs tight. Danielle gritted her teeth as pain shot up her arms. Her secure device slipped from the hood and crashed to the pavement, still connected. On the other end, the Pentagon listened helplessly. Inside the station, Paula smirked behind the counter. Danielle was shoved against the car, her breath catching from the force. Around her, the cameras rolled. Still, she said nothing. Inside the Pentagon's Joint Command, Lieutenant Commander Bryce Harper stared at the signal feed blinking red. The static and background chaos weren't just anomalies, they were warning signs. Colonel Dana Harlan rushed to his side. Where is she? Harper pointed to a dot on a Louisiana map. Pull up Secure Ops. Patch me through to Barksdale Security and the JAG team. Move. Now. Within minutes, a black convoy of government vehicles screamed down the highway toward Kelly's Fuel and Market. Back at the station, Danielle sat on the curb, wrists bruised, posture rigid. Locke stood over her, faking authority he hadn't earned. Who are you really? He asked. Who you working for? Danielle met his gaze. You're holding my orders in your hand. Maybe try reading them. You're funny, Carter said, stepping closer. That's obstruction. We could throw more charges on you. Then his radio crackled. Unit 7, be advised. Subject is flagged federal. Pentagon intervention initiated. Release immediately and stand by. Both men froze. Danielle slowly stood as Carter fumbled with the keys. Neither officer looked her in the eye. You're going to regret this, she said, voice low. Black SUVs tore into the lot like the cavalry. Lieutenant Colonel Darren Mosby stepped out first, eyes locked on Danielle. Ma'am, are you injured? No, Kenneth. Just insulted. The federal team surrounded her in seconds, boxing out the Mosswood officers. Mosby faced them directly. You are hereby ordered to stand down pending a federal investigation. Carter tried to protest. We didn't know. You had her identification. You had everything. Mosby snapped. Locke opened his mouth. She looked suspicious. Mosby leaned in. No. She looked black and confident. And you punished her for it. That will haunt you. Danielle was ushered into one of the black vehicles. As they pulled away, she saw Paula's smug expression crumble. Carter wiped his brow. Locke stared at the ground. Inside the SUV, Mosby updated her. The story's already leaking. There's footage. JAG's involved. This will go public. Danielle stared out the window. Good. The headlines hit before nightfall. Army General wrongfully detained in Mosswood. Clips of the incident aired nationally. Veterans, lawmakers, and civil rights leaders issued statements. The governor called it a disgrace. Danielle said nothing, but she watched. Chief Alan McNulty of Mosswood PD stammered through a press conference, claiming unfortunate confusion. Reporters grilled him. Was race a factor? No comment. Cooper and Locke real names now plastered across social media were suspended. Their prior records exposed. Complaints buried. Not anymore. The Justice Department announced a civil rights investigation. The military launched its own inquiry. Still, Danielle remained quiet. Not out of fear but purpose. Until Saturday. That morning, She stood at a podium outside Barksdale Air Force Base. In full uniform, ribbons shining, chin high, cameras flashed. "I am Major General Danielle Roston," she began. "I have served this country for 29 years. But yesterday, none of it mattered. Not my service, not my credentials, not my oath. I was judged by my appearance, not my actions. That's not a misunderstanding. That's bias." The crowd grew still. "I'm not here for an apology. I'm here because silence protects injustice. I won't be silent." She stepped back. No slogans, no hashtags, just truth. The applause didn't erupt. It rose slowly, from the back, then forward, building, lasting. As Danielle turned away, her pace didn't change. Steady, purposeful, because this wasn't just about her. This was about every woman in uniform ignored, every veteran disrespected, every black citizen accused first and asked later. She walked on, dignity intact, and behind her, a nation began to listen.